All right. I am live. I think I might have to adjust this light. Ooh, don't like that. Okay, I'm gonna turn it down. Turn the lights down low. Okay, so um I'm waiting for my friend to join. There she is. There she is.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Perfect. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
That's good. Thank you for having me up here.
Yeah. So we're just gonna be on here chitting and chatting and talking about Reiki and the Black community. Um, there's so much to talk about with that. I don't have like like particular topics as it relates to that. We could just have a very organic conversation about it.
Yeah,
If you want.
for sure. That works.
Yeah.
That definitely works. So I guess I can introduce myself. Um,
Yes.
my name is Amarachi Ibe. I am a master Reiki practitioner based in Atlanta, Georgia. And I initially, Reiki really found me when I started having health issues. And I was in the traditional, like, medicinal system, kind of going around to different people, and I wasn't getting answers. So I decided to kind of bet on myself. And that's when I realized that health really is not just your physical body, it's mind, body, and spirit. So from there, I started like paying more attention into like the holistic stuff. And I know certain words get buzzed on here, so I'm trying to think, what's another word to say? So well-rounded health stuff. So that's when I started paying attention to that, and I was like, okay, I think this actually makes sense, that a lot of my emotional trauma, it can be pent up and cause illness, or a lot of things that I've supposed to have been doing my whole life and I haven't been doing actually can cause health issues, right? So things like meditation, that's actually stuff we should be doing. Like, we should be teaching kids how to meditate, so by the time they're older, they already, it's just a part of their life. I always tell people that meditation is like breathe, it's like not breathing, but yeah, it is like breathing. It's as essential as breathing. It's like it's food for your mind. So think about it, you're literally not feeding your mind, and people do that for years, where they just never take a moment to see what thoughts are going around. They never take a moment to calm themselves down. They never take a moment to actually assess what emotions they're feeling and how those emotions come up, right? So because of that, you have this issue of people, they're, go years without actually knowing who they are. They go years without these tools. So once I started really paying attention to that, and I realized that, hey, meditation is actually just as important to my health as my physical health, right? That's when I started seeing more changes, and I started seeing my health get better. And from there, I started out with acupuncture and like a well-rounded nutritionist. But then from there, I stumbled upon energy healing, and that's when I really realized, like, hey, this is my purpose. And I always wanted to be a doctor. So when I found that, the curriculum and the courses I was taking wasn't really resonating with me, I kind of thought there was something wrong with me. And I thought the dream I had as a little girl was dying. But Reiki told me that no, that little girl was always right. It's going to be right. I may not be in a hospital. I may not be working at Grady, but I believe both of us, we are doctors. It's just in a different way.
Yeah. Absolutely. This is as I often say, and for those that are joining that don't know me, my name is Allison Rozelle. I'm a Reiki Master Healer and Spiritual Empowerment Coach for women. My specialty niche is women over 40, but as of late, I've been working with women definitely younger than 40. And I have no problem with that. I'm the one that will just say, if what I say resonates with you, you can lean with me, rock with me, and let's do it, you know. Um, so Reiki found me, uh, oh boy, at a time in my life where I was going through some transitions, and I actually had a friend that was going through a particular like coaching program, and she was putting together her own program, which was part of her homework assignment. And little did I know that it would include Reiki. And so she gave me a distant session. I started, like I felt great when she finished. And I was like, okay, so I need to learn more about this because this is awesome. More people should be doing this, and I'm like, how have I gone this far in my life, at this ripe age and never heard of Reiki, never been introduced to it, like why? And once I started on that journey and got my certification, I just fell in love with it. And it's not just um, something that you do. It's something. It's who you are, right? As the healer, as you said, being called to that is who you are. It's there is a higher calling. That's why, when I teach Reiki, I'm only calling in for the people who want to learn this because you have a calling, not because it's trendy and you feel like it's something you just want to do. No, this is a calling for you. This is something deeper than just doing something for the sake of doing it. And so, yeah, I love it. I really do. I love it. Um, it's helped me with a lot of things as someone who has anxiety. Um, it helps me with that. Um, it, it has helped me feel better, sleep better. It's helped me, through a lot of hard times
Yeah.
that I've had too. So glad to see all the people joining. This is awesome. So yeah. But one of the things I'm passionate about, and I think you and I had talked about this before, being passionate about seeing more, and I'm glad that there are more Black people who are becoming Reiki practitioners and getting into Reiki. So, like, what is your feeling about that?
Yeah, I think it's so important. I think I maybe I don't know how familiar people are with Reiki on here, but like Reiki is a form of energy healing, right? So it's literally you use your hands and you transfer positive energy to people. So it on its face, it doesn't sound like it sounds like what are y'all doing, right? But in reality, like this is something that people have been doing for thousands of years, right? And it's only when you experience that you're like, oh wow, this is actually legit. And on top of that, like people engage in Reiki exchanges in everyday life, right? So if you give somebody a hug and they feel better, that is Reiki, right? If you call your friend who is having a bad day, that is Reiki, right? Like and you send them positive uplifting words and they feel better, they feel more inspired, that is Reiki. Like last week I went home and I saw a lot of my family and I just felt amazing. Like that is Reiki, right? So we engage in this positive energy exchange all the time.
Yes.
It's just this is a formal name. So I think it's great that more of us are getting into it because it's something that we as humans have been doing for thousands of years, and it's something that we like already do, and I would even say, like, if you are someone who's grown up in the church, like a lot of that is literally Reiki energy, right? That prayer, that healing effect. I mean, some of the pastors, all you have to do exactly
Laying on hands.
all you have to do is listen to a sermon and you are so moved, something inside of you moves. That is literally Reiki. That is positive energy that is healing you. So we, even as Black people, we are a spiritual people, so we already have this, this strong ability to help people heal in non-physical ways. So this
Yes.
is another way to do it. And I wish more of us would see the everyday examples, but I think it's great that more of us are getting into it because it's what we,
Absolutely.
so I think it's fantastic.
Me too. And, you know, it's so funny because Reiki literally means the universal life force
Mm.
energy. And the universal life force for many of us is what we call God, right? So, yes, when you are passing on that God or goddess, supreme creator energy, whatever name you give, what through a hug, through kind words, through, you know, just doing it from a place of love, you are, in a sense, doing energy healing because it's an energy exchange. We're all energy, right? We are all energy. Energy is all around us and all within us. And again, I'm glad to see so many of us are starting to awaken to that, um, and understand that this is something that we can totally benefit from. And we don't have to be afraid of it. We don't have to make it mystified or strange or anything else. One of the things that, especially like when I teach Reiki, I encourage my Black students to use it as an opportunity to connect with like their ancestors, right? Because you can totally do that with Reiki. And what I like to explain to them is, yes, we're practicing a form of energy healing that happens to have a Japanese name called Reiki. But energy healing, like you said, has been around forever. So you bet your bottom dollar in the motherland, we were doing some form of this.
Right.
It's just now we're returning to it, but in this iteration.
Right.
And if we think it's not for us, it's totally for us.
Mm.
It's totally for us. You know, I feel so
Mm.
aligned doing Reiki. Like, it doesn't even feel like I'm like doing anything wrong. I love giving someone Reiki. I love talking about Reiki. So yeah, it's all of that.
I love that part you added though, like of telling people that like what we call it today now, yes, it's Japanese, but like yes, in the motherland they were doing it. In fact, I think it's like there's even like Kemetic Reiki, which is like more like Kemet. Like Kemet is the OG name for Egypt, and it's
Right.
like the Kemetic Reiki is like even like a more, I guess, African centered version, but like even outside of Egypt, like all over the continent it was being done. So I love that that's like reinforced to your students because I feel like when you try and make it seem like only one group is responsible for energy healing, you end up making it seem like everybody else wasn't doing it and nobody else had ways of healing
Right.
themselves. And I think we as Black people, we already have so many like negative images or images that were backward or that we don't do things correctly. But it's like, no, like we too were participating in healing ourselves. We too were participating in energy healing. So I think it's absolutely amazing that you incorporate that. And like you're saying, like it's not scary, right? It's
It's not.
something humans have been doing for thousands of years, and it's just now kind of getting a resurgence. But like energy healing is something that people have been doing forever, right? And everyone who I've done a session on has only positive things to say,
Right.
right? And I think that's another thing I always try and tell people. It's like I don't know a single person who's had a bad Reiki experience, right? Because what we're doing here is non-invasive, and all it is you connecting with yourself, giving you an environment to connect with yourself. So
Yes.
I that's what I tell people because I'm like this. We're not doing anything crazy here. We're really not.
We're not. And you know, I had the fortune of having a beautiful Reiki master that taught me. She is half Japanese, and I love her explanation of when you become attuned to Reiki, when you become a practitioner and you go through that attunement process, what that attunement process is doing is returning you to the power that you were already endowed with when you came down to earth,
Right.
before you got jaded by all of the stuff of society that tells you, oh, you can't do that. Oh, healing doesn't come that way.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't, you know, whatever. And that's the thing. It's like, and this is something that I have, especially like when things started happening in 2020. I'm like, I need Black people to understand that the ancestors are talking to us right now. They have specific instructions for what we need to be doing right now. But in order for us to hear, in order for us to be able to walk out and work those things, we got to heal ourselves. And we need to return to going to healers and seeking that. Now, I'm not speaking against Western medicine at all, because I do believe Western medicine and holistic medicine can work together if done correctly. However, one of the big things with Western medicine is keeping you sick so that you keep going to the doctor, not showing you ways to truly heal yourself. Whereas the work that you and I do, my good sister, is we are opening up the channels within this person so that they can do the work in healing themselves. And I feel like people have to understand that this work that we do does work. You can see results in it. Now, it's not going to be a hallelujah, I'm healed, where we going to like touch you once and then you going to jump up and be like, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, it's not like that. You will feel good though.
Yeah.
But there's more to it. I'm silly. I'm in my Leo season, so I'm just going to act a fool.
No, no, that is so powerful what you just said. I mean, yeah, everything you just said is so powerful. Like, I'm trying not to go off on the other medicinal system, but I want to word it in a way that's okay. Um, what you said about it keeping you in a trap, right? Like with Western medicine, one of my big, when I health issues was that I felt like everybody was making money off of me, but I was not getting any answers, right? So when you look at it, if you give somebody a pill, right, and you tell them like, hey, use this for this issue, that person has to continue using that pill for the rest of their lives. You have not cured them. You have not given them a strategy to get rid of that illness, right? And that's where you keep people on this loop of, oh, I constantly have to rely on you rather than you give me lifestyle changes so I don't have that issue anymore to be, right? For I know when I was going through my things, no one ever brought up stress, right? I'm like, I have been stressed for most of my life, right? So there comes a point where your body cannot handle that. And that's why everything just exploded. So I was being tested for all of these crazy diseases, right? And no one was all my body blood type, all of that was normal. So they were like, well, you know, your blood type is normal, so like we don't really know what to tell you, and you're just gonna have to deal with all this pain. And I thought about it. I said, no one has asked me about my diet. No one has asked me about my stress levels. No one has asked me about my sleep. And because of that, if I hadn't dared to look outside of Western medicine, I would still be very sick, right? And it's that system keeps you trapped because it's like, okay, I don't have any other answers, so I'm just going to keep using this pill so the symptoms go away, but I still have the underlying pain. And like you said, what a well-rounded, that's the word I'm going to use, y'all, because I don't want to get censored. There, a well-rounded approach, what that does is it gives you tools so that you don't have to deal with that anymore, right? So it's like, okay, if you're stressed, what is stressing you out? You know,
Yes.
you meditate? Do you do breath work? What foods are you eating, right? How can we balance these chakras? You know, I remember one of my herbalist that I see, one thing she told me she does, she says, when I get stressed, I stick my hands in dirt. And that sounds
Yes.
like that. You're like, girl, why are you playing in dirt? You a grown woman. But like, really, if you think about it, like that is nature, that is calming, right? So returning to those natural settings actually gives you the stress relief that you are looking for, right? Exactly, right? And
Yeah,
exactly. I'm reading the comments.
I am too.
Yeah. There's no, there is no, okay, you know, here's a treatment plan. It's take these pills, do this, and it's a cycle. It's a cycle, keeps you trapped. So when people come to me and say, oh, like people in the well-rounded industry are gimmicky because they're telling you they can cure things or they can help you with things. I'm like, the real gimmick is you're trapped. You have been on that pill since 1960, whatever, and nothing has really changed. You have managed your symptoms. You have not done anything to actually improve your health
And
overall. That is
you
the
still feel like shit.
still feel like shit, and that's the real gimmick. That's the real gimmick, y'all. So I don't want to go off too much, but
That's
exactly,
all right.
because I just remember, because I used to have a lot of nerve pain, and he would try, my neurologist, who I have so many things I could say about, would try and give me this pill, and I was just kind of like, the side effects of this are so strong to the point where, yes, I might not feel nerve pain anymore, but what other issues are you
Yes.
cause as well by doing this? You know, like I've taken pills where I felt one issue was solved, but then I got another issue. So I'm like, this is not
It's
helpful. You
not.
understand? And that's not a proper way to go about healing people. That's not a proper way to go about actually, you know, alleviating stress within the body. You know, like you said earlier, like we are divine beings, right? And by being a divine being, that means you are made in God's image and likeness. So we were literally made perfect. The reason we are not operating at a perfect level is because of all of this magu, all of this stuff going around, you know. That is why we're not operating at top capacity. But you as a human, you are perfectly made and designed. So when you
Yes.
that, which is what Reiki and energy healing does, that is when you start seeing results. That is when you start seeing the best version of yourself, because you are, like you said, you are returning to what you were meant to be. You're not being weighed down by all that society has told you you're supposed to be, things along those lines. So
Absolutely.
a word on that cycle. I could do a whole
Oh, we all could, sis.
lot.
We
Yeah.
all could. And you know, here's the thing, you know, I have a client and she sees me regularly. Um when she first came to me, she was having so many problems with not being able to sleep.
Mm,
Um not getting full rest and dealing with a lot of stress issues. Like when I first started with her, when I got to like her legs, I could feel all this stress in her legs.
mm,
People don't realize if
mm,
you have a lot of stress in your lower body,
mm,
that is a telltale sign for a lot of stuff that's going on within your body. You got knee pain, leg pain, feet hurting, and everything else. Telltale sign about stuff that's happening within your
mm,
body. So she started coming to me regularly, getting her Reiki treatments from me, and now she sleeps
mm.
well and
Yeah.
she's managing her stress better. And, you know, I told her, I said, here, if you're seeing me and you're also seeing your therapist, let me and your therapist kind of work in
Mm,
conjunction. Tell me what like exercises and things does your therapist have you doing, so that when you come to me, we can do things in conjunction with that to help you get the results that you want. Now, one of the things when we're talking about us as a people, black women die from heart disease at
mm,
an astounding
mm,
rate. And one thing that was kind of like I was sitting around and I think I was just studying, and this thought just came to me. Black, I have, okay, let me just back up for a minute. So for me, I have a thought and theory
mm.
that most of the things that happen to us in the physical started in the spiritual and metaphysical
That's
first.
right.
And we didn't heal it because we didn't recognize that it needed to be
Mm.
healed. So when you think about a lot of black women, don't a lot of black women walk around with broken hearts? aren't a lot of Black women dealing with things that have broken their hearts, that have hurt their hearts? So their heart chakra energy is probably all like discombobulated and messed up, because you know the heart is the bridge. And if the spirit and the body can't cross the bridge and talk to each other, then of course you're going to be all out of whack. Yeah. So let's help with that heart disease, number one, because, you know, I'm talking to myself because I'm trying to get my diet and stuff together, and do work on myself. But let's start working on that heart chakra. Let's start getting into that solar plexus and looking into that gut health. Let's get into that sacral chakra. Let's talk about those traumatic things that may have happened to you that have hindered you from feeling free to express your sensuality and sexuality, thus your creativity and your creative space. Let's get working on that root chakra so we can learn, how do you really feel about yourself? What are some of the belief systems that you are falling prey to? What are some of the things that in your childhood and your familial patterns that are affecting you as a whole? When we start breaking that stuff down and start breaking that energy up using something as powerful as Reiki to do it, and then we give you the work to do, because I do give homework to all my clients. Yeah. Like, now look, we did this, but I'm going to give you some work to do.
Now, that was, I just love the way you tied in all of that. Like, going back to gut health, I think that's so interesting, because it's like you said, like, gut health is, you know, obviously probiotics, prebiotics, things like that, but it's more than that. It's your confidence. It's your ability to believe you can get things done. Yes. It's you know, you really being sure of yourself, you know, believing in your decisions, believing your ability to do things, right? So when we talk about gut health, it's not just that physical component of the diet, right? It's also like spiritually, do I believe in myself? Yes. Like, do I actually, you know, say what I say I want to do, right? And it's like that with all of the energy centers. And like even what you said with the root chakra. One thing that I am now going to start asking clients about is like what you said, familiar patterns, because a lot of stuff you deal with in your life, it stems from instability with your family, right? It stems from things that have happened in your family that have been passed down, that no one has talked about, no one has actually done the work. And you might not understand that the reason you keep hitting a wall is because you have not actually taken the time to understand what has gone on in your family, or what even you dealt with your family, and how that hinders your overall progress. So I think that's so great that it's like Reiki allows you to tie everything together. You know, energy healing allows you to tie everything together, you know, because it's not just the physical, it's also the spiritual, right? And then once you understand that, you can see how they both work in conjunction, and you can see how you can do things in the physical to help the spiritual, and do things in the spiritual realm to help the physical, and vice versa. Right. So I love just how you were able to tie all of that together. And then on top of that, I think going back to what you said about with Black women having broken hearts, I think that's just like I think your theory is 100% true, that it all starts in the spiritual. And like, and if we look at the state a lot of Black women are in, where a lot of Black women are in situations where they are the sole provider of their family, right? They have to deal with the men in their lives, you know, being taken away, or you know, just not having good relationships with the men in their lives, right? So a lot of times we as Black women, especially at a young age, have to take on so much. And we have to carry through, we have to keep going through that regardless of what else is happening around us. And because of that, you have a lot of grown women, like you said, with broken hearts. So when we look at like a heart attack or heart disease, you know, there's definitely the food component for sure, right? But there's also the emotional component of like, hey, we deal with a lot, right? And I believe Black women really are just like the center of life, right? So if we are the center of life, and we are being just suppressed to the utmost degree, then it's going to hurt us more than it hurts other people. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that the well-rounded approach that we both take allows for people to see that. And I think the more we kind of tie what Reiki can do to these very real things that we see, I think then that's another way that within the Black community, people can understand that what we're doing actually helps you, doesn't hurt you, and it's actually in line with stuff that people have been doing, like we said, for thousands of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, and going back to the broken heart also can come from any of the relationships in our lives.
Right.
Did your daddy break your heart?
Mm.
Did your mama break your heart? Were you abandoned? Do you have abandonment issues? Like all of these things. And Black men, they have their own scope of things that they deal with emotionally, or not being able to be emotional. And so I love that there are so many Black women, and I'm glad to see there are a lot of Black men who are starting to open up to the possibilities of using these techniques like, Reiki, EFT, getting readings regularly, getting into herbalism and essential oils and things like that. These are the things that we as Black people, and I bring it back to what I said earlier, our ancestors are calling for us to do this. They want us to come back to what we know to be true, not what we've been taught that is true, but what we know is true, because it's in our DNA. It's what we have done for centuries. When we talk about the ancestors that were enslaved, you don't think they had medicine people on the plantation? Somebody was cooking something up so people could survive. You know what I'm saying? I learned not that long ago that our good sister Harriet Tubman, she was a hoodoo priestess. She practiced hoodoo. Frederick Douglass practiced hoodoo and had a gree bag around his neck for protection. The things that we have within our roots, it's time for us to reconnect with that in a big way. That is what is going to save us. That is what is going to sustain our community. But it has to start with the individuals so that we can start helping the collective.
That is so true. Especially when you mentioned in enslaved communities, the healers that were present there, right? I think that's also an aspect that gets overlooked. And I don't remember the name of the enslaved man, but he was enslaved in Brazil for a long time. I think he was moved around though, but he was a healer, and the Portuguese hated him because he was healing enslaved people at rates that were crazy. And they were just so upset. And so they ended up deporting him and doing all kinds of stuff to him. But he was a big time healer, and he brought over practices that he had learned when he was in West Africa over to Brazil, Caribbean, the Americas, and was using that to help people while he was there. And I just remember his name is Dominguez Alvarez. I can put that in the comments for y'all who are interested. But from reading that, I was like, we are so powerful. And people knew our power, right? So they did all they could to try and cap us. When in reality, like we have forgotten that power that everyone seems to know and realize, And it's pretty amazing. Like I didn't even know about Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass, but so many of us do things that are technically not, Christian, if we're being honest. It's technically, a lot of the things we do, like there's a reason why Black churches look so different, because it's like we're pulling from a different tradition, and that's why it's more lively. That's why people are invoking different things, and that's why it's just a different tradition. And I feel like people, they might call it Christian, but a lot of it isn't. A lot of it stems from things that our ancestors have been doing way back when, and also just our own practices. So it's like you know, I feel like when you start pointing out the exactly, I think, yes, Sydney here said chanting, literally chanting.
Mm-hmm.
Chanting is a African art form.
Yes.
Like that is not a European thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't understand that what we're doing is actually not as Western as we think it is. And this is stuff that we're demonizing the origins, but we don't realize that the origins are still with us, and
Facts.
it hinders us until we fully embrace that.
Nothing but facts, sis. Nothing but facts. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, this is why, because, you know, going back to Reiki, you can actually let Reiki be in partnership with any of your practices, your spiritual practices.
Mm.
You know, Reiki is a great complement to those different healing practices. If you, like one of my students, she uses the pendulum
Mm.
in her healings, and she partners that with Reiki healing. And um, I think it's important for us to know that, well, first of all, Reiki is really not associated with any spiritual practice at
Yeah.
all. And that's what a lot of people get twisted, because they
Mm.
think that it's a religion thing.
Yeah.
And it's not. It has nothing to do. It has everything to do with healing.
Mm.
That's it. Healing and love.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lots and lots of love.
Yeah.
And you allowing someone to be that conduit, that channel,
Mm.
someone like you, someone like me, to
Mm.
channel that love energy.
Mm.
Who doesn't need more love? You know what I'm saying? Channeling that love energy to give that healing in the parts of your life where you need it.
Mm.
You know, why do you think it is when you finish having a Reiki healing session, you get some really good sleep, and
Mm.
vivid dreams are not
Mm.
uncommon? And I'll tell people, like, look, it's very possible you may have a very vivid dream, not a bad dream,
Mm.
just vivid.
Mm.
And basically all it is your mind is dumping,
Yeah.
because it's like, it's too much stuff up in here, so let's let it out.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, that's so true. And even I think, yeah, like what you were saying about you can kind of pair with any practice. I think every person on the planet should know how to do Reiki, so that whenever you're in, or people who are genuine to it, obviously, because I feel like you could use Reiki for negative purposes. But if you are a positive person, right, I feel like every person should know how to do it as a form of personal maintenance. And then you have people who are like specialized, like us, who are like the people you go to more regularly. But the reason I say that is because it's energy healing is something that people should have been born knowing about, right? So it's like, oh, okay, like this is what I do when I'm stressed. This is what I do, when I feel like I need an energy boost, or this is what I do when I'm feeling, a little uncertain about something. I can literally channel the positive energy that's already inside of me,
Mm-hmm.
and use that to calm myself down, and use that to get a clearer view about what I want to do for myself, my life, things along those lines. Use
Right.
that to connect with God, my ancestors, things along those lines, right? So I really like that idea that you can kind of pair with anything and kind of use it in your everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing how to do Reiki or knowing how to perform Reiki doesn't even mean you have to be a practitioner. Like, there are people who just learn Reiki for themselves, right? So it's
Right.
like, I used to have really bad panic attacks, so I use Reiki to calm myself down, so I've never had a panic attack, right? So you don't have to go out and be a practitioner. You can definitely go out and pursue your thing, because what you were brought on this earth to do, because obviously we all have different purposes. Not everybody's purpose is to be a doctor, right? So
Right.
not everyone's going to be a Reiki practitioner, but I do think it is a helpful tool. Or even if you don't want to learn Reiki, at least knowing the basics in terms of, hey, meditate, or breath work, or,
Mm-hmm.
grounding, things along those lines, because these are things that kind of keep you in check with yourself, So I think learning anything along that route is really
Yeah.
powerful.
Definitely. definitely. Any way to help balance yourself energetically, like you said, whether it's with Reiki, whether it's with breath work, meditation, yoga, um, uh, EFT, you
Mm-hmm.
know, however you do it, but just find a very beautiful sacred practice for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, maybe if you're just wanting Reiki for yourself, maybe you just go to level one.
Yeah.
Level one is
Yeah.
enough. You know, if you're wanting it just for a personal practice for yourself, go learn, get certified in level one,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and let that be what you use to help, you know, your everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
And you start building your own, like I said, your own sacred practices for yourself. Incorporate your children
Mm-hmm.
in that practice. You know, I wish when my son was younger that I knew about Reiki, because I would have been on it and doing it, and he would have got it.
Yeah.
But now
Yeah.
he grown, and I still give him Reiki,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when he asks for it. But and I've taught him like some basic stuff that's almost close to level one. But I asked him, I said, "Do you want to get a tune for it?" He was like, "Nah." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
So it's just important for us, especially as black people, because we get afflicted with almost everything: high
Mm-hmm.
blood pressure, diabetes,
Mm-hmm.
colon cancer, prostate cancer, everything. And if we would just learn how to truly take care of ourselves and live a more holistic life,
Mm-hmm.
we could reverse a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I think of some people I've met who had some very like very like sad, like health issues, but they knew that the Western system wasn't helping them. But when I said, hey, try Reiki or even just holistic nutrition, there was so much pushback because they're like, oh, like I don't think that's in line with my faith, things along those lines. And like you said, like this is not religious, this is not adherent to any faith. And on top of that, like I was speaking to another Reiki practitioner. She brought up this great point. And it's like, do you push back when a Western doctor gives you medicine, and do you tell them they're God?
That part.
Exactly. Do you say the same thing to them, that this is not in line with my beliefs, the pills you're giving me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're play God and do X, Y, and Z.
Right?
So I feel like that's another point to bring up to people is like, if you're going to use that basis, right, then you could use that basis for any type of medicine, any type of thing that is geared towards health. And if you are selectively choosing which ones you do and don't use, then I think you should ask yourself why there's that selectivity. What makes you think that one is more worthy of listening to than the
Other.
other?
Right. That's right. That's a great point. That is a great point.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I've enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah. That's great. And thank you to everyone who's still on and everyone who came earlier
Yes.
as well.
And those that are commenting, she is golden, has been dropping some gems in the comments.
Yeah, yes, I
So
said. Yeah, I agree that a lot of the mental issues and depression is caused by rejection from our spirits. Yeah. That's true. That's another thing. When you get into a lot of the mental health issues, a lot of it is because our society isn't designed to uplift a lot of people. So a lot of people fall into deep depressions and other mental ailments, not because there's something wrong with them, but because the society doesn't support them and their gifts, right? But we don't attack it from a holistic front. We say the person just needs to be medicated or, isolated, but we don't actually look at the environment we've given them. So I think that's spot on as well.
and us as a community, we don't recognize mental health, emotional
Mm-hmm.
health
Yeah.
either. And we tend to demonize. And if we are good church folk, we're going to just tell you pray about it.
Yeah.
I got so tired of hearing people tell me pray about it when I was in the church. I was like, okay, do you think I'm not praying?
Yeah.
Like, do you really think that I'm not praying?
Yeah.
I'm praying like all the time. I'm sure God is sick of me.
Yeah.
Like, I really, really reject that notion of just pray about it. Just like, be gone from my presence if you're gonna say that to me. Because now that I am on this level and in the way I think and my awakening and everything, I will give major pushback to that, you know, of saying just pray about it.
Yeah.
Or you're not praying hard enough, or your faith isn't strong enough, and all that bull crap. And I'm like, okay, no, that's really not what's happening here. You know, it's because these people, you know, and I'll put myself in that, it's the lack of support. It's the lack of empathy and understanding, compassion, love. You know, stop telling people to just push through their emotions. No, let them feel their emotions.
Yeah.
You know, if someone is mourning, whether it's a death, loss of a job, a relationship ending, you know, a lot of us, you know, have learned, or I've learned, that a lot of anger issues are stemming from some sort of suppression or repression of your emotions, not being able to express yourself, not being able to, you know, just feel your emotions. And I think that that's causing a lot more damage to people, you know, and we could go on and on.
I'm in 100% agreement.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
So before we wrap this up, because it doesn't even feel like we've been talking that long, but I looked at the clock, I'm like, holy crap, we've been talking a while. Which I'm fine with, but you know, I need to go have dinner.
Yeah.
So tell people about, you know, how to contact you, and if you got anything going on as far as specials or whatever.
Yeah, of course. So, best ways to contact me, you can also follow me on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok and YouTube as well, the same as well, Advice from Amarachi. As for booking a session with me, I have my link in my Instagram bio and the bio of the other social media platforms. And if you head to my bookings page, you can see all that I offer. I do in-person Reiki on Fridays, and I do distance Reiki as well as Oracle readings. And then outside of those, I do regular self-development sessions. So these are non-Reiki related. So if, you know, you're still kind of easing into Reiki, you want to know more about it, those are perfect for you. Or sometimes you just have an idea, you just want to hash it out one-on-one without a Reiki treatment, and that's perfectly fine. And that's what those sessions are for. So those are my main offerings. And then I'm also a content creator. So I make content regarding health and wellness, and just how we can all live our best lives and be the best versions of ourselves. And really, like you were saying earlier, return. It's all about the return to how we're meant to be. So that's really what I do. And I make YouTube videos weekly on just any kind of health topics. Right now I am in the middle of discussing the 4 agreements. So I'm doing a chapter for each agreement. And then I'm also my latest video was on the misdiagnosis crises in America. I believe it's Johns Hopkins just released a study saying that 800,000 Americans either die or are severely impaired by misdiagnoses. I believe that number is way higher. So that's why,
because when you said, I'm like, that's too low.
Too low. And one thing I say in the video, but I tell everyone is like the purpose of them doing that is probably because now it's getting to a rate where a lot of people are skeptical about the system, right? I think especially in 2020, a lot of people were like, what is going on, right? So they have to address it on some level because they're like, it's getting big, but we don't want to say the real numbers or do a thorough analysis where we see that it's actually millions of people who are actually, you know, having a worse quality of life because of the improper diagnoses. So
Yeah.
they came up with some number that's somewhat reasonable, and they only targeted like 5 diseases. So they said, oh, it's mainly like when we're diagnosing like strokes where we see some issues and things like that to kind of minimize it, but they're still talking about it because they know it's a
Right.
problem. So
Right.
that is my theory as to why they're even talking about it, is because they know
Mm-hmm.
it's people. A lot of people are losing faith, as they rightfully should, and are looking for other ways to go about actually healing themselves.
Yes.
But they know that, you know, they need to still kind of hold on to what they have told us. So they're even in some articles I would read it say there's no alarm. It's only like 2% of people that this is affected. I'm like, it's way more than that. It's way more than that. So that's my latest YouTube video, and that's something that I could talk about forever because I'm like misdiagnosis. Ugh, it's just everything I could go into about how the approach is not holistic, and then on top of that, just the society we've built is not conducive to health. So all of that is the real misdiagnoses, not, you know, the fact that you were told it was one disease versus the other. It's like you got to go deeper than that if you want to
Yeah.
actually answer. So I do weekly YouTube videos as well if you are interested in longer form health content as well.
Cool. So I too have a YouTube channel. Feel free to go to the link in my bio and you can follow me on YouTube. I'm trying to get my subscribers up because
Yeah.
I love, I do lives on Sundays, and you can catch me on YouTube live for my Sacred Sundays. Um, right now, I have a self-care membership circle that people can join, that women can join right now. And coming up in August, it's going to be open enrollment for Reiki class. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm already, I've got one class that's about to end next week. So the month of August is my birth month. So it's going to be all kind of stuff that I'm probably going to be doing. So, you know, just keep a lookout. But if
Awesome.
you're not following either one of us, make sure you follow both of us, one of us. I don't care. Just do it. Well, I've enjoyed this conversation. We have got to get together and talk again and do
Yeah.
something. You know, who knows? We might end up teaching something together. We both in Atlanta, so we might
Yeah.
have to work something out on that.
Yeah, I'm totally down. I totally love this as well. I
Yeah.
love this so much.
Awesome. Well, you have a wonderful night. Everybody have a beautiful night, and we will see you when we see you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you,
love.
everyone. Bye.
Bye.